Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th episode of Shot of Nostalgia right here at the Turnbuckle Tavern. We are doing that deep dive straight through 1998 WWF, Monday Night Raw, and according pay-per-views. And my goodness, do we have the granddaddy of them all. It's WrestleMania, damn it. I'm good old Mike Belcaster, and as always, joined with me.
Live from the No Sale Studios, this is the Ace of the Tavern, ACEFIELD Retro, and we are here from the Fleetcenter in Boston to break down what is, let's be honest, man, the coronation of the Attitude Era. It's not only the coronation of Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is when the tide simply turns and WWF becomes what we truly know it is today. This conglomerate is on the uphill swing, and I think once Stone Cold takes the helm, here we go, Belcaster.
Here we go indeed, man. What a hell of a 2 Raws we got to go through here. We get a St. Patrick's Day one, the special of specials, damn it. I'm super pumped. And then, of course, WrestleMania 14. We're here, man. We are literally living through history again.
And the thing is, I was looking at the dates as I'm putting them on. I was like, that has to be wrong. That's not a week in between. But the 17th was a Tuesday. They were preempted for, I don't know, well, maybe we'll find it in the newsletter about what they were preempted for. But Westminster Dog Show, US Open, whatever the fuck it is. It was on a Tuesday and didn't matter. We'll talk about the ratings and stuff. There's a lot of newsletter stuff to get into, but let's not waste any time, dude. Let's just get right into the newsletter and talk about what Dave Meltzer had to say in 1998.
Happy Hour.
Ooh, yeah, get those chills, brother.
So let's go to the March 16th, 1998. And that's also how you know it's a Monday, by the way, because the 16th is a Monday, the 17th also Google's your friend. So let's start with, we are talking about WWF, but at the same time, the importance of building context is the turmoil that's happening in WCW. And we all know the personalities and we all know the strong wills that exist there as far as booking goes, but there is a lot of chaos. And it was very akin to that month and a half, 2 months stretch where AEW seems like it was a disaster. And I only put a couple clips in here just to talk about it. But what do you remember specifically about WCW during this time? Do you remember it being a disaster? I mean, you were a kid watching, but do you remember it being one of those things like you knew Hogan and Nash and Hall all had the power of booking?
Yeah, I didn't know the inner workings quite well. I was just fanning it out and just enjoying it. But I mean, they were up there with WWF at the time. I mean, I was still gun-ho on channel surfing between Nitro and Raw consistently for that. I think the rest of the year going into probably 2000. I mean, I kind of slowed down on WCW a little bit more in 99, obviously, and the pulse, picked up over at WWF, but it was still a good show. It was still very interesting. It was still fun to watch. And it was, there's never too much wrestling when you're 11 years old and flipping channels and you're just stoked to be at home after school watching some pro wrestling.
So some of the turmoil, and there's been legions of factions throughout behind the scenes in WCW, and that led to its downfall with guys with creative control. During this era, 1998, specifically in March, Meltzer says the behind-the-scenes turmoil exploded over the past week between Hogan and Bischoff, Power Base, and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall group that has clearly lost power. It's been phased out during the same period the company is doing record business. There are a lot of things unsaid that appear to be extremely serious. One of them being, and we're going to see him pop up as soon as the next episode here, it was Sean Waltman. He was given his written release on 3/9, and his reps have already approached WWF about going back. It was weird because even after he was fired later that night on Nitro, he's being plugged for an autograph session kicking off first day sales for later this week. As the announcers weren't given word, he was gone. Nash and Hall did get a significant interview time separately from Hogan on Nitro, and Hall didn't do his survey, made point of bringing up he wouldn't be doing it. And then Nash put on a Hogan shirt, but seemed less than thrilled about outwardly being a good soldier for TV purposes. A lot going on there. Sean Waltman is the latest to fall, and we'll talk about why he was released in the next newsletter because Bischoff does kind of reveal why. It was like a chess move on his end to show, hey, you guys back off. I'm the guy in charge here. Waltman was that person who left. And he becomes a very important part of WWF 1998. I can't imagine DX without him. It almost revitalizes what Shawn Michaels has gotten after WrestleMania.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And he almost had that Rick Rude effect where he was, in both places at once. I mean, it's weird when you get a rapid release like that and, they pop up on TV, but he brought some momentum with him from WCW, I felt, because he was lightning hot in the NWO storyline. He gets a lot of go from there. He goes to WWF, joins DX. I mean, the rest is history, but pivotal moment for the Attitude Era and WWF in general. I think XPac was huge for business. He was great for in his role and as a character and as a talent. I mean, how can you not be happy having XPac back under your belt, man?
And this is sort of the rebirth of DX. And of course, we'll talk about that in depth next week. But we had other names in the newsletter. Benoit, Chris Jericho, and Dean Malenko all, and I quote from Meltzer, bumped into Vince, Shawn Michaels, and Steve Austin and others at the 3-3 at the hotel near the Pittsburgh airport. And the Steiners, Kurt Hennig, and others was there as well to be a fly on the wall for that hangout. So when WWF was in Wheeling, West Virginia, and WCW was in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and naturally told they wanted to hear about their potential to be on top of the cards as heavyweight title contenders. Meltzer says, with the exception of Chris Jericho, the Benoit Malenko Guerrero trio, who have normally stuck together since meeting up in New Japan, all have nearly 2 years left on their contracts. Situation where Guerrero tried to get a release and supposedly Bischoff got hot and threatened to tie him up legally if he left has remained a sore point. WCW right now appears high on Jericho about how he's gotten his personality over since going heel. Interesting to see all these guys. They all eventually leave. Benoit goes, Jericho goes, Malenko goes. Jericho being the first, I believe. He was the guy first, and then Benoit and Malenko came over with Eddie. It's funny that it was like already known that they were going to be sticking together. They've been doing it their whole careers. Very, very interesting stuff to see them having conversations. You don't really think about that. The informal conversations that happen behind the scenes at hotel bars. A lot gets revealed there.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I mean, it was all four guys went on to do bigger and better things outside of the WCW bubble. So I think it's just the dominoes fell, you know.
And something that was really rung true about AEW and like what was relevant today. This is something Meltzer said. Now, of course, this is 1998, guys, and it could have been written today. And he said, for all the positives when it comes to business, that having the deepest talent pool in the history of the business, there is one negative. And there's absolutely no way to keep all of them happy and push all of them to their potential. So for all the criticism Bischoff gets, the pressure he's under the talent constantly is more than incredible. Dude, that could be written today in the newsletter about AEW. I mean, WWE not so much because like feels like they have really structured their card, but there's guys that are not being used appropriately, of course.
Of course.
AEW, though, that's a big point of contention. I mean, there's been arguments and backstage fights and shit going on all over the place based off the one simple fact: people want to be used correctly.
Yeah, and listen, it's there's no way to please everybody. It's a hard thing to sell over to all. But I think WCW did a terrible job at it. Tony Khan's doing an okay job at it. WWF, they've always been in that spot where they kind of do it, but they also kind of take care of their core group of guys. You know, it's the Killer Crosses and all them. Like they can come and go as they please. But as long as you're one of the main focuses, you're always going to have a place there, and you're always going to have a spot on TV.
Yeah, the main point of bringing that up and the benefit of reading the newsletter that we have here doing the show is understanding that everybody wants to be doom and gloom about the wrestling business today, and Tony Khan has no idea what he's doing. He's dealing with things that's never happened. Like, that's wrong. Backstage fights, unhappy talent, contract disputes, people leaving, walking. It's par for the course. It's been happening since the beginning of the business. It will happen long after Tony Khan is out of the business. That's just the nature of the game here. So I think everyone could just relax. Obviously, WCW could be used as a cautionary tale of things you don't want to happen, giving people too much power. And it seems like we see a little bit of that where obviously CM Punk made Tony Khan look a little bit weaker. And that was very akin to how Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, they were given all this power in WCW, free to say whatever they wanted. But I guess you have to learn from the history of WCW so you don't lose what you have in front of you, because WCW was almost too big to fail, and they failed. So you have to use that as a tale to maybe be abide, but with a little caution.
Hey, the Death Star was huge, and it blew up at the end of the day, right? Twice. So
some other stuff here. We have the relationship with New Japan, Mexico, and WCW kind of hitting a wall here. And we've seen that pop up through 96, just how important they were, the relationships, the guys who came over. And Conan was at the core of it. But just as WCW's business has reached yet another new peak of popularity, according to Meltzer, and if the internal conflicts weren't enough, external problems relating to Japan and Mexican deals have cropped up as well. There's been no official announcement made by either side, but the belief is for a number of reasons that the New Japan WCW deal, which was believed to be had 1 week ago, may end up having the thread cut imminently. However, on the Mexican front, it appears most of the problems have been settled, with WCW allowing its wrestlers to work in Mexico and Conan being officially reinstated as the intermediary between WCW and Promo Azteca. The exact situation related to the New Japan WCW deal is subject to an incredible amount of rumors and speculation. What is known, according According to Meltzer, is that the two companies had a joint bank account, which each put $500,000, which was used to pay WCW talent to work for New Japan and New Japan talent working in WCW. We'll get into a little bit more of this, but this is an opening for WWF to get in business. And we're going to talk about the Super Show and all that stuff, the failure that was the Giant Baba Show in a second.
Oh, yeah.
This deal here is, we talk about the backroom dealings about figuring out the booking, but the other thing is the financial part. And that has to be taken into consideration with AEW, New Japan, and AEW and Impact. All this stuff can teach us lessons from today.
Yeah, 100%. And very interesting to hear that they both kind of put up, their own cash to pay talent and a shared bank account. It's weird business.
Seems bizarre. I mean, I guess because it's a time where you can't Venmo. It's not a digital age. We talked about Paul Heyman unable to pay talent because he got robbed and he had no cash on him. So, or his bank got held up. So if that's the case, you wind up not having the money in front of you. So 98's a different time. Yeah. So we also have more information about him, which I think is fascinating. I think people will find this interesting. New Japan first withdrew its money from the account. WCW followed by withdrawing its own money from the account, seemingly putting the partnership in jeopardy. There's a separate deal where New Japan pays WCW a sum, which according to Meltzer is either $750,000 or $1 million per year to book foreign talent to the company, a deal that was recently renewed through the end of 1998. There are also other deals such as relating to NWO merchandise, and much of the problems may stem from the popularity of the NWO name, which is owned by WCW, but used for the top heel group in New Japan. So very, very interesting. And this is an important thing to notice here because WCW and New Japan, that was I wouldn't say the influx of talent, but they were keeping things fresh by getting talent from the international, and they would keep whoever they wanted, and it's falling apart for them. So WCW is having a lot of internal turmoil.
Yeah, listen, these are the small plantings of the downfall of WCW. I mean, this is a huge deal for them. They had a great working relationship for a couple of years, and when things start getting sketchy on the inside, I mean, it's only going to fall apart more and more as it goes on, and the wheels start coming off, and the car is going to be rusted into the ditch by the end of the century, man.
And just to note that as well, New Japan's official company monthly magazine stopped covering WCW news. So that was another inkling that potentially they were done doing business together. But we saw them sending over big talent. We covered it in 1996, 1995. We see WCW get their hands on, and New Japan get their hands on, the Steiners, Eddie Guerrero, Benoit, Jericho, Dean Malenko. At this point, WCW in 1998 is sending cast-offs such as Farmer, Michael Wall Street, Scott Norton, which he is a big name Meltzer mentions in Japan, but a mid-card in the U.S., prelim wrestlers like High Voltage, Buff Bagwell, whose star actually shined first in Japan as a heel, but no longer booked there. Point is, there's a reason why New Japan's unhappy. They're not getting their money's worth. They're putting in a lot of money for it, but they're not getting the big guys. And that could be something to do with the character control you have with these other people in there, and they don't want to go.
Yeah,
so you're forced
absolutely.
to send these younger wrestlers.
Yeah, I mean, even contractual wise, I mean, sure, the Scott Halls and Kevin Nashes are like, I'm not going to Japan, So you're narrowing down the talent that you can have work outside of the company, and they're just not happy about it.
So the other thing we mentioned before, the Giant Baba May 1st Tokyo Dome show that's happening. Baba turned down an offer from WCW to have WCW talent come there for the show. And at the same time, representatives from the Sumitomo Corporation and TV Ashi, the same network that broadcasts New Japan in the Saturday night post-midnight time slot, were coming to Atlanta to meet with Bischoff at the same time, trying to get last-minute deals to figure out if they can make it happen. While this is happening, you got WWF sliding in to figure out if they could send some talent over as well to take over the deal, because obviously WWF is recognizing they have that light heavyweight division that they want to crop with these other stars, and they're also looking to get future stars that are international as well. WWF has their eye on the future, but right now WWF's the starting relations, which have unable to be put together a deal with All Japan. So WWF at the time, put it this way, they're having a courting relationship with All Japan. They're not being able to work it out. WCW, New Japan are breaking up. WWF raises his eyebrow and says, New Japan's always been better. Why don't we just work with them if All Japan's being difficult? And man, could have been, they had a relationship in the mid 80s, so maybe they're trying to revisit it.
Yeah, if only things would have worked out and stayed that way.
But I mean, people noticed when Vince Sr. ran the WWF and Hisashi Shima ran New Japan, they had a working agreement which resulted in McMahon sending over people, big names: Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, the Masked Superstar, Adrian Adonis, Bob Orton, Bob Backlund, and McMahon Sr. expanded the WWF nationally because of the wrestling war in the U.S. McMahon would continually cancel heavily advertised New Japan tours when Hogan and the deal fell apart. So they tried in good faith to keep it happening, but the precedent was like obviously stateside. They want to keep their stuff happy and they got to keep their booking. So New Japan fell apart. And again, similar to WCW thing, if you're not getting your money's worth, what are we even doing here?
Yeah.
All right. We also have Bob Holly and Bart Gunn will debut as the new Midnight Express in the tag team battle royal at WrestleMania. Dude, I mentioned this from the newsletter. I'm not sure if you caught it from last week. The original plan from creative was to have Adam Copeland and Sean Morley be the Midnight Express. Can you imagine if they would have had Edge first appear on TV in a shitty NWA tag team?
Nail in the coffin, obviously. Glad things worked out the way they did. But I'm not gonna lie, man. I like where Bob Holly went with it. So I'm glad they brought back Sparkplug a little bit.
Yeah, and Bart Gunn, I mean, he's a year away from being knocked out in Brawl for All, and that's what he's being remembered for. So, being a tag team champion with the Smoking Guns and everything he's doing with the Midnight Express, nope, it's going to be forever Brawl for All, and then being knocked out by Butterbean.
Yeah, it could be worse, right?
I guess so, yeah. So WWF did get some publicity mentions in the mainstream this past week as Tyson sued Don King for $100 million. And some of the media stories, they mentioned Tyson appearing at WrestleMania. So another thing, keeping in mind the tension with Tyson and Don King, they're almost at the finish line here. We're 2 episodes away from getting to WrestleMania. WWF is just holding their breath, hoping so badly that Tyson can make it there in one piece without any of this stuff going on. But I'm sure they were stressed because you got Shawn Michaels with a broken back, obviously.
I broke my back.
Broken back. And then you also, dude, you have Mike Tyson, who is volatile. At his very best, he's volatile. So
no, it's crazy, man. And he's got a lot going on. I mean, imagine if there was some legalities that came up with this Don King separation with WWF and it just shit the whole deal. I mean, talk about a flop and what would have possibly been the downfall of WWF at the time. Could you imagine if Tyson was not able to show up at that Mania?
Wow.
All hell would have broke loose, man.
So Pete Rose allegedly be getting $25,000 for his appearance at WrestleMania for his tombstone by, I mean, that's tombstone by Kane.
Fucking sign me up.
Hell yeah.
I'll even take my mask off.
Exactly. We have Sid Vicious appearing on the Bob Ryder on Prodigy show, and he talks about the relationship with WWF and All Japan, and it was very interesting what he said because obviously Sid Vicious is the authority of international wrestling workings, right? So he said, Sid said that All Japan should save the money they were going to pay WWF for its talent and pay it to him because he'd mean more in Japan than all the WWF talent combined. But he said he didn't want to work in All Japan for longer than 7-day tours at a time because they don't have the caliber of gyms in Japan, and his physique would start to suffer on longer tours. Shoot your shot, man. Shoot your shot.
That worked, dude.
You want fluff? Go eat a marshmallow.
Sid just got to learn not to skip leg day, man.
Very true. I mean, what year was that he broke his leg up top rope? That's like 99 or 2000?
2001.
Okay,
2000, so, yeah, the all good old WCW Sin pay-per-view.
Oh, there you go. Obviously mentioned by yourself and your wife in the car picking them up. That story we told here at Shot Nostalgia, and
the best attention in the car ride ever. Like he called his kids afterwards. He was just like anything not to talk to us.
Oh my
God. Loved it. Made me so happy.
So let's go to the March 23rd, 1998 newsletter, and we have the situation with Sean Waltman getting hotter over the past week with no explanation to his firing other than Bischoff was trying to send a message to Nash and Hall. So apparently Sean Waltman, who Meltzer says had approximately 18 months left on his 3-year contract, was giving termination notice in a FedEx letter from WCW Vice President Nick Lambros. And immediately his agent Barry Bloom opened up negotiations with the WWF. We're going to see him show up, dude, 8 days from this point. Like it's pretty goddamn quick. And it's interesting there's no non-compete. I think obviously contracts are a little bit different now, and that's taken consideration. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on as far as his health, because that's a concern as well. That was one of the reasons that Bischoff was so willing to let him go, aside from just trying to do this power move to show Hall and Nash who's boss, but also, Sean Waltman was injured and that he had a lot of neck injuries, and we'll talk about that in 1 second. But what are your thoughts here as far as being fired and like using this as a power move against Hall and Nash?
I think it's a dumb field to play ball in. I don't think you should, because imagine what would have happened if he fired Hall and Nash and they went to WWF.
Right.
You fucking like just talk about dumb things to nail your coffin shut. Yeah, man, I don't think that's a good standpoint for any boss. You shouldn't be throwing labors like that. Be like, see what happened to him? It's gonna happen to you too if you don't get your act together. Like, fuck it, fire me. If I was Scott Hall, I'd be like, yeah, of course I'm drinking on the way to the ring. Like, what do you want me to do?
No, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you could speak to this. We've all worked jobs where like the culture was bad and like no sort of consequences, or that wouldn't make anyone feel good. We talk about the situations in the back. People in 1997 post Survivor Series, it created this tension in the back. And this is the same situation. People see this happening. It's not good for the workplace.
No, not at all. And imagine being an outsider trying to find, oh yeah, we could hire you at WCW. Be like, for what? So you can fire me with an FedEx envelope, like it's not good business, man.
So we talked about Sean Waltman, obviously the question marks that are there for him, and the biggest being his broken neck, a fractured C5 vertebrae, and a flattened disc that has kept him out of action for several months. So for several months after surgery, he was not even allowed to travel, thus hasn't appeared on TV. He is now cleared to travel and thus could appear on TV, but it's still probably a few months from being cleared to wrestle. I'm not sure when we'll see him wrestle. I know we will see him wrestle. He's a big part of 1998. He's on TV almost immediately, so he's able to fly. But this is sort of one of those moves, and it's the Monday Night War has been a chess game. All these moves, as far as going against originally Nitro going against Raw head to head, they didn't have to do that. All this contract negotiations, the Lex Luger move, Hall and Nash, all of that. This is a misstep, in my opinion, because I think what he's not seeing is the value that XPac brings to the product. And if it wasn't for XPac, I truly believe DX wouldn't have been able to be revitalized. It probably would have been put on the shelf. I know the Outlaws would have joined, but who's another guy with that same personal relation, that same connection with Triple H and Shawn Michaels throughout time that could have filled that void? I think he's so essentially important. I'm a huge XPac fan, so it's hard for me to like look at this in an objective way. But I think he's so important to what the Attitude Era becomes, and it's crazy that he's just let go.
Yeah, I think he was a very underrated pawn in the Monday Night Wars, because wherever X-Pac went, the fans kind of followed. When he showed up in WCW, everybody was like, "Oh hell yeah!" It was a big deal, and he had that edge and that attitude about him. But when he goes back to WWF here, this is like when the ball really starts to change for things too. And I don't think the success of DX would have been as big without Waltman. I think Waltman added a very important part to the whole stable and faction, and he was a huge pivotal part of the storytelling mechanisms throughout the next 2-3 years in WWF. I mean, he did a lot of stuff, and I was always tuning in when X-Pac was on TV. Always.
I have to find the picture of me in probably 1998-99 as X-Pac for Halloween. My mom made a full X-Pac outfit, the pants and everything, the red and black. I gotta find it and post the picture. It's I was Taker once. Taker was homemade. I was the Riddler from Batman, which is Batman Returns. Yeah, Batman Forever. I'm sorry. And then also I was X-Pac, which was my favorite costume ever, because X-Pac was and they didn't make the X-Pac costumes. You couldn't buy the tights. Chalk line didn't exist, goddammit. I had to make my own with Hanes sweatpants and felt from freaking Joann's.
Yeah, no, my grandmother so lovingly made me a Kane outfit for like my fucking Halloween dance, and it was all felt and shitty looking, but it was the best. You gotta love it, man.
By next week's episode, I'm gonna go to my parents. I'm gonna go through the photos. I'm gonna find the X-Pac photo, and I'm gonna post it so you guys can see it. I think it looked good in my mind. I haven't seen it since that day, but I had a big giant black wig on. I had the pants. I had a DX shirt. So
I love it.
Anyway, so as far as Sean Waltman goes, this wasn't necessarily a no-brainer on their end for WWF to re-sign him, because he is someone that they already released in the middle of the wrestling war for a number of reasons. Perhaps the biggest was obviously an addiction to prescription painkillers. WCW, when they took him in, paid for his rehab, and then he became the third member of the Wolfpack, a cruiserweight champion, worked a lot of solid matches against top cruiserweights in WCW, and his t-shirts were surprisingly a hot seller. Still are, by the way, GCW. Before suffering the severe neck injury. So WWF is taking a risk on this guy. There's no doubt about it, but I'm sure he was vouched by Triple H, who right now he's taking on a huge piece, because at this point, he is taking on Shawn Michaels' role. Like Shawn Michaels is gone. They need someone to step into his shoes.
No, listen, and he fits that role really well. And like that's been the funnest part of these episodes so far in 1998 is watching him kind of take in the position of being the head of D-Generation X, one of the bigger names in WWF, and I think he did it very effortlessly. It worked out great, man.
So Giant Baba, as we mentioned earlier, he came back to the WWF over the past few days with a proposal for a limited WWF involvement in his Super Show in May. But WWF has not made the decision at press time on the proposal, although the decision would have been made this week. Giant Baba at the press conference said even though the initial negotiations between WWF and himself had been broken up, and in the past few days he'd received a fax from WWF offering Vader to them for a date, and he had agreed to the idea 5 days earlier, the original press conference. Baba said when asked about the participation of wrestlers from either WWF or WCW, he didn't place high value on guys outside because other people are charging too much money. Listen, I mean, awesome to see. When relationships end with other companies, there's an opening for other people. Is Vader a big star in 1998? No, not really, but it still is someone it's an act of good faith. And I think that's something that WWF is trying to do here.
Absolutely. And somebody familiar with the territory. You're
True.
sending somebody who's a name out in, Japan. Why not?
We also had Dory Funk Jr., as we mentioned. He was doing those dojos where we saw Sean Marley's name pop up and all these different people, Edge as well. He got a major write-up in his local newspaper with a large color photo on page 1 of the sports section. And the story was very favorable, according to Meltzer, mentioning Funk had signed a contract with the WWF to train wrestlers. So this is before the PC. This is before what they were doing as far as getting wrestlers ready before they hit the main stage. Like, obviously, they wouldn't have the same exact process that they did, but this was sort of molding what it looked like to have coaches and training sessions and seminars and think about the future. It's not just about getting free agents, it's about building the future from within. And that was something WWF is starting to recognize.
Yeah. And obviously he did a good job because Edge is still wrestling.
100%. And I think that's a huge thing to recognize. And the other thing is we mentioned Paul White, and he's also in the news. We mentioned him on Wrestling Tonight about potentially joining up with Jericho again or wrestling again in March or whatever it is that he's doing with AEW. But his contract is coming due with WCW, and it's no secret WWF is very interested in him. The belief is that Giant is going to be wherever Hogan is. So we do know at this point that St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which is 1999 February, so we're still about a year away from Paul White's debut, he becomes a big part of WWF. And how could you not be interested in him at this time? He's so young. He's the youngest world champion in WCW history. He's one of those guys that was given a lot of praise for his in-ring work, for being a big guy. People forget how good he really was, the things he could do in the ring for his size. So I wouldn't say that his run in WWE is remembered as fondly as people probably should. I don't know. It was one of those things, longevity made it worse. I don't know. I feel like if he would have left, it would have been better. Like, because the end of his career got really, really bad.
Yeah, of course. But in a counter little react to that is that, I mean, WWF gave him longevity. I don't think he would still be wrestling dates if he was working for WCW. I think because he was working a lot there, and WWF turned him into that giant spectacle again, and I mean, his career went up and down and had its moments, but I think, even up to when he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal Memorial thingy, I think like that was a big moment for him still, and I think he was still accomplishing shit. It was good. I always love seeing Paul come out and do his thing, man.
My favorite iteration of the Big Show has to be the SmackDown 2003 where he's feuding with Lesnar. Like, when Heyman's by him, he's the world champion. He's a heel. He's in really good shape. He's doing a lot of crazy things off the top rope. That's my favorite Big Show. Second is probably the original Big Show with the corporation with the long hair. And I love the story with his Jack Pacific figure where he couldn't do it in secret. That's why he's in black shirt and black pants. Do you remember that story?
Yeah. It's insane, man. I'm going to throw mine in the hat. My favorite was WWECW Big Show. It was cool to see him do the extreme shit. I was really pumped, and he was the only believable big guy that you'd be like, all right, he would fuck up RVD and Sabu, no problem.
There was an ECW episode where it's Ric Flair versus the Big Show for the ECW title. In what world? Like, it's just
money, and it was a good man. It was a fun fucking watch, man. Like, Flair got gigged up all over the place. He was being
So
thrown
good.
into thumbtacks. Yeah, such a good time.
All right, so this is the last part of the 23rd newsletter, and it's funny as hell, and I had to read it here. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Headbangers being NWA Tag Team Champions. They beat the Rock and Roll Express and Jim Cornette when Morton was pinned, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter what it means, but this is what Meltzer says about what happened after. He said, not to worry, they cornered Cornette after the match when the new Midnight Express, Bombastic Bob, a.k.a. Bob Holly, and Bodacious Bart, a.k.a. Bart Gunn, arrived with all the old Midnight Express movies, most of them badly. Holly looked ridiculous, almost like someone was doing a bad spoof with bleached hair to look like circa 1985 Bobby Eaton. Of course, they also jumped the Rock and Roll Express so they could restart the feud. Actually, Holly has some talent. I'm not sure what to say about Gunn other than he still has no charisma. But this would be like putting a bunch of jabroni actors that couldn't even hang on the WPN show and call the new show Cheers and have them doing the same format and stories. But in its own way, it's entertaining. Meltzer was feeling spicy in this episode.
he felt it. He just exactly iterated what I said. God, I was so happy to see Bob Holly back, but fuck Bart Gunn. Like, who cares?
So good.
You want fluff? Go eat 'em. Marshmallow.
That's why I got my Vinny gigs on.
Let's get to the last newsletter here so we can get into all the goodness of the two Raws and obviously WrestleMania 14. So let's go to the March 30th, 1998 newsletter. And this is about Scott Hall. And obviously Scott Hall passed away last year. And we were talking about his legacy and how much he influenced all of us as wrestling fans. And this was a dark time for Scott Hall. He checked himself into rehab at this point, like after almost exactly 1 year after checking himself into rehab. Scott Hall's 38, again, checked himself in this week, and he's expected to be out of action until the 4/27 Nitro taping in Norfolk, Virginia. We talked about the death of Louis Spicoli last week, the young wrestler who was apparently Hall's personal protege from an apparent combination of an overdose of prescription pills and alcohol. 2 years ago, as it turned out, to the day he gave notice that he was leaving WWF, Hall was suspended for testing positive for marijuana on a drug test. Missed a potential six-figure payoff for a scheduled match at WrestleMania. That match being what wound up being Roddy Piper and Goldust. That should have been Goldust and Roddy Piper, Goldust and Scott Hall in that big parking lot brawl, which people all remember fondly. And it's crazy to think that what could have happened, it should have happened. The Scott Hall just missed the date. But sad to see Scott Hall, and these are the struggles. He's in and out of rehab. It's not the worst we're going to see of him, unfortunately. This is going to continue down the line. But the thing that you weren't here on last week talking about Louis Spicoli passing away from an OD, and Meltzer had a really big thing to say about this. It's not talking about what can we do to stop it, is who's going to be next. And that's really haunting. Like, those words are haunting because it gets worse, and it continues to get worse until I think the culmination, the worst of it all, is Benoit's doing that whole thing, until positive changes were made. And wrestling is in a much better place now. Just seeing guys that have the right healthcare, it's a different culture in wrestling altogether, more of a positive vibe and of course there's still this stuff going on. You don't want to be naive, but for the most part, this was the worst of it. 1998 was a pretty dark time for wrestling as far as the backstage goes.
No, absolutely. I remember when Louis Spicoli passed away, I was heartbroken. I was a huge fan of his. I watched him in ECW, and I seen him get signed to WCW. It was really awesome because you were like, "Oh, that's Louis fucking Spicoli from ECW." Like, it was one of your guys, and he was so young and full of talent, man. And it was a shame to see him pass away. I mean, he was in that storyline with Will Sasso on I think it was on WCW. It was fun, man. It was really cool, and it's just a shame. I had no idea that he was so in with Scott Hall, though. That's news to me. It's crazy.
Yeah, and we also talk about the ratings here as well. And Meltzer says to best illustrate the growth and popularity of pro wrestling over the past year. 1 year ago this week, when Nitro and Raw went head-to-head with the Academy Awards, they got demolished and they got hurt in the ratings. This year, Nitro and Raw combined, they were considered absolute competition to what would be a national awards ceremony with the Academy Awards, and they were one of the two or three highest rated television shows of the year, and they are nothing short of phenomenal. So just the fact they're keeping pace with one of the highest rated all across the board, it bodes well for WrestleMania, and I think it obviously bodes well for the future of pro wrestling. Just in 1 year, just the same, like, we look at the actual ratings. I mean, the Nielsen ratings don't really matter as far as numbers go, but for Raw, they did a 2.5, and the exact same next year they did 3.58, which
Insane.
going head to head with the Academy Awards, it's a huge difference where like people were watching wrestling, they don't care what else is on.
Yeah, no, it's insane, man. Like I said, we'll probably never see numbers like that ever again in our lifetime. Not that they matter anymore, but it was something. It was wild to live through that. It was wild to be a part of that whole change in pro wrestling.
So we also had a Boston show with Tyson, Michaels, and Austin all on the Raw. The live gate in Boston will be right at the $1 million mark, which is the first show in North America to hit the 7-figure barrier since the 1992 WrestleMania at the Hoosier Dome with a young Hawk in person in Indianapolis. So, and this is also coming off a week where Nitro set its all-time record of a 5.58 since it was going unopposed, and Raw on 3/17 in a Tuesday night also going unopposed at its highest rating, its second highest rating in history with a 4.4 with a 7.1 share. Dude, the number, look at that number for Nitro, 5.58.
It's insane.
Millions of people were watching wrestling.
Yeah, it was pop culture. Like, it was one of those things. You know, you grunge music. You had pro wrestling. You had like it was part of the '90s, man, and it was one of the best things I think that we've ever got to witness as fans.
The other thing that I was thinking about as well, because I was watching the Rise and Fall of WCW documentary they have on Peacock, which is in the same format as the Rise and Fall of ECW, not as good and not as memorable, but they talked about going head to head with Raw, and Vince put it in a way, it was such a short clip of him, but he says splitting the audience was like an unheard of thing. Why would you go directly against them when you both could be eating really good? We saw it when they go unopposed on both days. You could have everybody that's a wrestling audience. Clearly the popularity is there to consume the product, but instead they're splitting your audience. But in a lot of ways had me thinking the only way and the only reason it's so popular is because you're creating competition within, and people feel that energy of like, you have to top the other people on the other side. If you were just working Thursday nights and Monday, there's a reason why. And I truly believe if you had AEW in 5 years from now going against WWE Raw, it could create a better product. AEW would be trounced for the first couple weeks, months, years, but it would take time for them to get up to their level. But I think it would make both products better if you're going head to head. Yeah,
100%. I mean, splitting the audience is what, promoted the growth from both companies. Without the competition, it wouldn't have been as important as it turned out to be, and it wouldn't have been as hot. I mean, we're looking at record-breaking numbers for big sports events on TV. This is insane.
So we also had Eric Bischoff on TSN's Off the Record with Michael Landsberg. This was the same exact show that Vince was on, where he talked about the Montreal Screwjob. He talked shit about Bruno Sammartino. He talked shit about Ultimate Warrior. If you ask Vince about it, he talked shit about it. But this is Eric Bischoff's part, and it was pretty much to counter Vince McMahon's interview. And he said, Bischoff was clearly in touch and far more open and honest about himself, his product, and the business itself, while being so came off as less charming and a little more defensive of his position. And he said, and this is Meltzer, a common theme among wrestlers who have worked for both Bischoff comes off as someone who doesn't care about them, but will also say things that hurt their egos, whereas McMahon will do the opposite, even though the belief is that it may be more of a charming facade. So this interview goes on a while, and he starts talking about, he talks about all things. He talks about Scott Hall. He talks about whether he would have taken the WWF Championship on TV if Bret Hart was to leave at the exact same time, and he says no. Talks about the numbers and talks about how Vince McMahon shouldn't be trusted. Fascinating read here. He also talks about his tryout for being an announcer and not holding any ill will. He tried out, and I don't know if you knew this, as an announcer in WWF in January 1990. And he said his total interaction in his lifetime with McMahon consisted of 2-minute conversation during that incident. He said he harbored no bitterness with McMahon over not getting the job because, and I quote, I wasn't a very good announcer then. He said in hindsight, he felt McMahon made the right decision at the time, but as it turned out, his being turned down by McMahon was the greatest break of his life. Butterfly effect. If McMahon hired Bischoff, what goes on? Because obviously Bischoff was the key component of getting Nitro, getting things off to the... Because I think Ted Turner and everyone involved in Crockett Promotions was just happy just existing.
Yeah.
Bischoff had this drive, and if it wasn't him, I don't know who it would have been.
No, absolutely. Did you ever see that interview where they hand him the
TSN
broom?
one?
Yeah, no,
No.
the Bischoff interviewing for WWF.
Oh, I have not. No.
They hand him a broom, and they literally make him interview the broom, and he goes, "What the hell am I gonna do with this?" And he starts trying to sell it, and it was a complete like uncomfortable thing, and I think he felt slighted by Vince a little bit. And I know he says he's not, but there was some animosity towards like, yeah, they gave me a fucking broom, so totally understandable. But it's a very interesting. I'll try to find it for you and send it to you after we're done here. This is good.
Oh, for sure. And the other thing he did notice in this interview was Stone Cold, and obviously WCW let Stone Cold go, and Stone Cold becomes the biggest star in wrestling. And he's not the biggest star in wrestling at this point. Let's just give them credit here, but he's on the way. He's on the way up. And he says, from most accounts, Austin's new persona was not the creation of the WWF, but of Jeannie Austin, Steve's wife. Although when it started getting hot, WWF does deserve the credit for pushing to the moon. Bischoff said that Austin would be a mid-card performer if he was still in WCW, and described him as being, quote, a big fish in a small pond. Bischoff, in regards to his firing of Austin, said he was injured a lot, and we got the impression we weren't being told the truth when it came to the severity of his injuries, and again said that Austin couldn't be the top of WCW. Doubling down on, like, obviously a mistake. Like, admit you made a mistake. The dude is very talented, but yeah, doubling down, saying, yeah, Austin's still a big fish in a small pond. Bullshit, Eric Bischoff.
Crazy Bischoff. What are you doing, bro?
You want raw? I'll get downright nasty.
Yeah.
So there's other things in this interview, and you guys can go out and watch the TS interview. It's available on YouTube. He obviously says he wouldn't be bringing the WWF title the night after on Nitro after the Montreal screw job. He says no. He said that the Leah Lunger Blaze thing was a one-off. He said in conversations with Hart that he made it clear that Hart should lose the title because he wanted the wrestler Bret Hart and not the WWF champion. And then when the host said that all his top stars are over 40 and questioned the company's future due to the fact Bischoff brought up names like Ray Jr., Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, and DDP, and Meltzer writes in quotes, who's actually 42 as young stars. So yeah, I mean, interesting stuff here. And obviously it's a counter, and the media tour continues where both guys want to be able to have equal playing ground, and the war continues. And I think it's only going to get bigger and better. I think at this point, though, we covered WCW 1996. In my opinion, that's the best it was going to be. Maybe 97. At this point, the bloom is kind of off the rose a little bit, in my opinion. I think at this point, WWF is clearly the superior product, even if ratings don't say it yet. They are just the better product.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even as a fan in 97, 98, you're starting to feel the shift. You're starting to see things a little more clear. You want to watch WWF more because it's got that edge that WCW is missing. And you are correct. I think the 96, 97 are the last of the great stuff that happened in WCW before it just started going all over the place. And then they hired Hack.
The crazy thing is, as well as talking about as a detriment, stars over 40. And now that 40 is a new 30 in wrestling, where guys that are 40, Bryan Danielson is 40 something years old. He's doing the best work of his career.
Yeah.
Go to CM Punk, and 40, like I said, is the new 30. So at this point, it's just funny how wrestling changes in that way.
Absolutely.
Spinal.
All right, let's get into Tuesday Night Raw from St.
I got to
Patrick's
throw
Day
out that Stevie
1998.
Richards, the thing I posted. I was laughing my ass off because it's like Tom fell right for it. He's like, "What's wrong with Steven Richards? It's spinal."
So good.
Yes,
And I love the way
show.
the drop had the Shot Nostalgia branding on it too. It's so good.
You have to,
But
absolutely.
It's time to get our fix for the Tuesday Night Raw from March 17th, 1998, live from Phoenix, Arizona.
Get your fix.
Yeah.
All right, here we are, Tuesday Night Raw at St. Patty's Day, 1998, Phoenix, Arizona. Somewhere in my elementary school, I had a green bagel, probably. I don't even know what else. Cutting out shamrocks. I was 10 years old, 9 years old, enjoying all the St. Patty's Day fun, and coming home to an amazing episode of Raw, dude. Good stuff.
Yeah. What more can you ask for? You didn't get pinched. You wore the green shirt. You didn't forget anything. Life's good, man.
So this takes place Phoenix, Arizona, the American West Arena. And we talked about the Raw last week. You weren't here. It was more of a build towards Shawn and Austin at this point, but it was very filler. Like, I mean, for the episode last week, we did 3 episodes. There wasn't a lot of meat as well. They were getting ready. There was that one episode. The rest were just very filler. But at this point, WCW is really challenging WWF to give their best approach as far as wrestling goes. And wrestling has caught fire with the 18 to 25 demographic. And it's quite clear that that's what they're angling towards. And as we build towards WrestleMania 14, you see them becoming a little bit more edgy over time. It's not just the DX segments. It's all over the card where it's all about driven towards that edgy product. And it's becoming quite clear that they're not turning back anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we open up with Ken Shamrock taking on D'Lo Brown. This was a match, again, short as hell. I have a drink here. It's a DQ. I'm just going to take a sip for this. A minute 49 for 2 very talented workers. D'Lo Brown, an underrated part of WWF's all-time roster, WWE's all-time roster. I loved his Impact run, and I love what he's going to continue to do through 1998. His feud with the aforementioned XPac over the European Championship. Really good shit. But this match is short. Like I mentioned, 1 minute and 49 seconds. Ken Shamrock comes down and gets a huge pop. Kevin Kelly, the voice of New Japan Pro Wrestling, is in WWF at this point. He mentions the issues that Ken has had with the Nation. They show him getting manhandled by them, but it's come back against The Rock, and the Nation allowed it to happen. Kevin wants to know about Shamrock's self-control and to be able to keep his temper in check at WrestleMania, which we know won't happen. Ken then answers and says he has fought in all types of matches, especially no-holds-barred competitions, and he has lost his temper a few times, but has saved him a few times. And he says at WrestleMania, when Rocky steps into the zone, there will be a new IC champion. So decent promo from Ken Shamrock, not known for his best promos. And yeah, then they get ready for the match, as obviously we have the Nation coming out and D'Lo Brown taking control of the match for the Nation. And we have just The Rock getting involved, Farouk getting involved. Short match.
D'Lo
This had
salty.
potential.
Yeah, no, it was decent for how short it was, but it could have been way better. I expected more out of D'Lo Brown and Ken Shamrock, but it was still entertaining as shit. And you can't take that away. That fucking chair shot from The Rock.
So good.
I think that's the 90s, and chair shots and The Rock go together so damn well.
Yeah, so, and then Kevin Kelly is with this aforementioned Shamrock, who has to have a concussion, talking after the fact, and continues the interview. Man, but he pretty much takes his goddamn head off. And I remember there was an interview with The Rock where he had said, I think it was Shamrock had said to The Rock, if you don't hit me hard, I'm not selling it. So hit me right in the face. So every time he hits him with the chair, it's always an explosive fucking shot where it's like he owed him money or something.
No, and it's funny as you bring up that interview. I just seen that 2 days ago, and it lined right up with this. And I was like, dude, that's perfect. But you can literally see Shamrock mouth hit me with the fucking chair, and The Rock's like, all right, man, clocks him completely. It was a beautiful looking chair shot, but man, ugly. Knowing about concussions and shit.
So as we approach WrestleMania, clearly this is an angle advancement stuff here, and at this point, The Rock and Shamrock is so built up. Like it's a really well-rounded mid-card feud. The IC title feels important. Both guys feel like they could be world champion even at the moment, not even just in the future. At this moment, the IC championship feels so goddamn important. And I'm glad emphasis right now at WrestleMania is being put on the IC title this year. And I think that's a credit to Triple H is being in control of creative. We got Gunther potentially taking on Drew McIntyre. So hopefully we get a program similar to this and memorable moment like we get with Ken Shamrock and The Rock to bring the IC title back up to prominence.
Yeah, I'd be all here for it, man.
We have a backstage segment with Sable and talking about challenging Luna to a fight, and she has any guts, she'll be here, so she kick her ass. And then we get the Phoenix Suns gorilla in the back, and down in the ring, he's being repelled into the ring and running in circles and sits next to JR. Overrated mascot, in my opinion. People give Phoenix Sun gorilla like so much love. I think he's overrated. It's a gorilla.
Nothing to do with gorillas. The gorillas have nothing to do with the sun. There was no. It was just like slap him in a Suns jersey and a gorilla suit and get him out there. Damn it! Made no sense. And he touched goddamn JR's hat. He stole Jim Ross's hat as he was coming down the ring. What a monster! Who does that?
I'm just like, I'm sure there's a reason for it. Like I know the Colorado Rockies have a dinosaur because when they were building the stadium, they found dinosaur bones.
That's
So I'm
cool.
sure there's a story like this where like there's a famous Arizona zoo that I just don't know about. But in my opinion, I'm not saying the Phoenix Sun should have a son, but I think it should be a gorilla.
I think they do
like,
have a son now. I think it's a son, or it was shortly after this. It was a son with glasses, and it was very.
Is that true? I'm not a basketball guy. I feel like the gorilla
I
still
don't know
exists.
either. I hope the gorilla. I don't. Listen, the mascot game has been up times 10. I mean, nobody does it better than the Utah Jazz. But but yeah, no, it's interesting that this was like a cheap, Halloween gorilla costume. And they're just like, yeah, go out there and you work for the Suns now. It's like, what do you do?
All right. Well, while you go over Jeff Jarrett with Tennessee Lee at his side, taking on Tom Brady, the guy who stole the Patriots gimmick, I will look up who the fucking mascot of the Suns is right now.
Well, it better be quick because they're just like that. This match was a minute and 54 seconds. I've yawned longer and over more exciting shit than this. It was okay. At this point, as much as I was for Jeff Jarrett being in WWF in 1998, I've quickly turned the channel. I am totally good. Much like anytime Jeff Jarrett's on TV in 2023, I'm not digging it, man. It was short. It was as you said, a lot of filler going on in these Raw episodes. This was a weird this just made no sense. It was awful. The whole thing, like nobody gave a shit, but the crowd did. The crowd was pumped, and it was okay. I don't know.
All right, well, here we go with the mascot. So the gorilla is still a thing, and it's been come under fire a little bit in recent years, but right now it's still a thing. And apparently in 1980, a man working for a telegram service was hired to wear a gorilla suit to a Suns game for advertising purposes, and the gorilla has become synonymous with Phoenix. So apparently a guy named Henry Rojas was the original gorilla, and he went to the game dressed as a gorilla in 1980 at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum dressed in the suit. And Rojas admits he was nervous and slightly embarrassed as he sat outside the arena in his beat-up car. However, once he got inside, he found himself rooting for the home team and usual dancing to the music. Fans continued to hire him to come back in the gorilla suit following that first appearance. And the Suns management has even extended an offer to make a relationship with the team by the end of that season. So, yeah, random as hell, but there you go. Yep. And he's still not that dude himself, but the gorilla himself is still a mascot.
What a career turnaround. You went from a telegrapher to the number one mascot in all of Phoenix.
So there you go. The things you learn on Shot Nostalgia, guys. I bring you guys the facts, okay?
Yeah, no monkeying around here.
You want fluff? Go eat a marshmallow.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right, we get the Ken Shamrock segment here with Kevin Kelly, and Kevin Kelly says that Shamrock's going to the hospital. Rock interrupts Kevin Kelly and says, obviously know your role, shut your mouth thing, and he doesn't give a monkey crap about Kevin Kelly, and he doesn't care about Kenny Shamrock. Now he needs a new opponent for WrestleMania, and lay at the smackdown on Ken and gives it back to Darren Cole. This was all The Rock's greatest hits in one, almost. And his everything he did with Kevin Kelly and Michael Cole, the coordination and just the chemistry he had with these announcers. I think back to the segments where he tosses the shirt on Michael Cole's head, and this was a very akin to that, where the banter is so perfect off the cuff. It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody treated these guys more dweeby than The Rock did, and I think that's what sold it so well, because you were like, man, I hate The Rock so much. So when he would walk up, and before he was, The Rock, right here, right now, him, Kevin Kelly, beautiful shit, man.
Our next match here, let's not go too far into it, but it's for the NWA World Tag Team Championships. It goes 2 minutes and 7 seconds. The Headbangers retained against the Rock and Roll Express. So Bob Holly and Bart Gunn got involved and attacked the Headbangers at the end of the match after Mach gets the pin with the stage dive. Cornette grabs the mic after the Headbangers are being destroyed, declares that the problem has been taken care of. Every wrestler has been begging for him to bring back the Midnight Express, and Bart and Bob are the new Midnight Express, and they are met with boos. So it doesn't get over. So Jeff Jarrett, they moved away from Jeff Jarrett from the NWA stuff. They're trying to build a new faction. It just does not vibe with what's going on. It's against the grain in the worst way possible.
Yeah, it's very off-putting. Like as much as I could sit here and say, "Ah, man, I could listen to Jim Cornette talk shit all day." Like this does not flow whatsoever, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So, yeah, hopefully we don't have to put up with it too much longer because I'm pretty sure they could put the kibosh on it very soon.
We get more of the Phoenix Sun Gorilla prancing around the ring, and out comes Kane. And then he gets choke slammed by Kane, and Tombstone time, and the fans are very upset because the Gorilla's a favorite there. He's their mascot for the Phoenix Suns, and Charles Barkley and other people on the Suns. I'm trying to think of another name. Steve Nash. He wasn't on the Suns at this point.
No, Barkley's it. That's okay.
Barkley had to be on the Suns in '98.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. We got to pull up the whole roster.
You want fluff? Go eat 'em. Marshmallow.
And don't forget about the poor Telegraph business. It was shut down for the whole week after the Kane choke slammed this poor guy.
We get Owen Hart wearing a cast on his ankle, and he's at the announce table for this next match. And we get Billy Gunn taking on Chainsaw Charlie. And guess what? 2 minutes and 23 seconds to lead us through the match, Belcaster.
Actually, for what time it was, this is probably the most entertaining thing on the show. Like this was actually, it told the story a little bit more. Chainsaw Charlie got his shit in. It was, it was fun. I think it was awesome to see. I'm still popping at the fact that we're watching Billy Gunn in '98, and he looks basically the same. I mean, a little bit of sun damage on the skin nowadays, but I mean, goddamn, Billy ass, Daddy ass is still cranking it out here, and it's fun to watch him work Terry Funk. Yeah, nothing spectacular. I enjoyed it. I like the cactus and shit. Like it's just, I don't know. This is a good program, and it goes all the way to Mania. It's fun shit, man. But yeah, Daddy ass, killing it.
All right, so it's obviously a DQ. It's building up more of the tag team match at WrestleMania, which is fine.
Yeah.
But in the aftermath is just really, really good too. So like, I give some credit. It's just weird. Like, I don't understand why all these matches have to be short and a DQ. Can't we like figure something else out with this roster and not just do a DQ with the guys involved in the WrestleMania match? Do they have to be in the ring together?
Yeah, absolutely. But also there was like not that much on the show. This could have been give this 5-10 minutes. Like, why not? You could have told a little bit better story. And maybe this is just shit that Vince learned during the Attitude Era, like let things breathe a little bit more. But my God,
it's bizarre, right? Like,
very weird.
Like, we go through all the matches, 2 minutes and 3 seconds, 2 minutes 23, 2 minutes and 7 for that tag match, 154 for Jarrett and Tom Brandi, 149 for Shamrock and D'Lo. Like, where's the wrestling, brother?
Yeah. I'm going back to Turner, man.
All right, here comes Vince out, and we got Kevin Kelly in the ring, and Vince is absolutely booed. He's fully heel now. Vince said that last week was unprofessional and unfortunate, and then they show what happened on the screen. Vince did not like what happened. Nonetheless, he gives them the benefit of the doubt, and Austin was stunned by the mental acumen of Michaels, who brought Tyson into DX. More footage of Austin telling Vince to punch him. Vince does not really want this reshown, and Kevin asks Vince why he did not hit Stone Cold. This continues down the line. Vince said it is not up to him, but the fans, and they loudly cheer about Austin becoming champ. Kevin Kelly repeats the question, and Vince is fine with him becoming the champ, but he needs to be controlled and get into line. If Stone Cold is the champ in his current form, it would be a really corporate and public relations disaster, and pretty much talks about how he doesn't want to be champ. And it's not quite at No Chance in Hell yet, 1999, but it's going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be there. He doesn't – I always think the best moment for me is when he flips out at WrestleMania 15, where he's like pulling the ear after he's the champion and he steps on Vince. Like, that's probably the culmination of all of it. He's not quite there yet. He's like, the character Vince is still open to seeing, like, well, he's good for the business and maybe it won't be so bad. Well, Vince, guess what? It gets really bad.
Yeah, he's still soft-spoken, Vince. He's just like, maybe it won't be that bad. But Vince, it gets bad. But yeah, a good segment. I like Vince. I like watching corporate Vince, man. It's fun.
We get a Tyson and DX video, and then we also get the life story of Austin being from a blue-collar Texas town. And they actually said he was fired from WCW, and now he has recapping his whole career. This is longer than all the matches combined at this point. I think it was like 8 minutes. It's crazy.
These were long ass fucking promo video. So it wasn't bad though. It was good. If you didn't see it or you needed to know more about Austin, go ahead and go watch it, man. Goddamn.
We also have Triple H taking on Owen Hart for the European Championship, and you're like, oh, cool. I'm expecting a long match. Clearly, Owen Hart is hurt. He's going to be working in 2 weeks, so they got to figure it out. His ankle is so twisted, has been off of these house shows. They moved him away from the Shawn Michaels feud. So at this point, this match, dude, you would think it would go. They're building up to WrestleMania, and it's 51 seconds. Owen immediately clotheslines Triple H to the floor. He's too slow coming out and is shoved head first into the steel post. Chyna gets involved. She hits Owen with the cast in his balls and then also in the face, and then rolls him back in. Triple H hits him with the ankle lock, and then Owen never gave up as the ref calls for the bell, and Triple H gets the European Championship. This is for the whole angle, and obviously, if Owen loses at WrestleMania, which he will, it's an absolute dud. And at this point, why would you have the title switch hands? Why don't you have Triple H win at WrestleMania? And also, why is Owen treated like a piece of shit? Like, I don't get why they don't see his talent. I understand he is a heart, and he's getting the Triple H post-click moment treatment right now. Like, he's left there taking the bullets for everybody else. But goddamn, Owen
isn't
treated
even
like
the
shit.
worst of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Just keeps going more and more downhill for Owen. And that's a damn shame. But it wasn't a bad segment. That low blow was missing that like bing, like sound effect from No Mercy. You know, he hit him in the balls, but it wasn't terrible. But again, embarrassing where they're putting Owen Hart in this situation because it's just a shit show at that point.
Do you think it's because of the Brett situation, or do you give him the benefit of the doubt they doesn't have any creative for him?
How can you not have creative for Owen Hart, especially after the Brett thing? You think that would be the time to fucking slap a rocket on him and let him like, I'm the better Hart anyway. Fuck it. Like there were so many ways you could have made him just a huge star, and it seems like they went more of the punishing route, which is kind of like up Vince's repertoire, if you will.
well, so the main event of the show here, we get Luna and Sable with both the artist formerly known as Goldust in Luna's corner, Mark Morrow in Sable's corner, and this just breaks down into absolute chaos. And pretty much Sable's acting like she's injured during the match. The match really can't continue with her broken knee. Marrow tries to help her up, and she cannot put any weight on it. And here comes Kane, which is like, what is going to happen here? So Kane is on the apron, and he hits the flames and gets everyone. Marrow leaps over the top and leaves a screeching Sable in the ring. Paul Bearer taunts her and motions Kane to chokeslam her. She cries, and now here comes Taker, and the music goes, and all the good stuff with Taker. And we get some build towards Kane and Taker. They feel like this has been built a long time, but this is a nice little end of Raw segment. But I mean, this was fun. A good way to end this. And we get Kane in a casket, all this good stuff. Rest in peace to Kane's younger brother. Love it.
Yeah, I always popped when they did the lightning thing too as a kid. Like, it really did. Like, I always thought it was like, how the fuck did they put lightning inside of a building? Like, it never processed for me. I was always like, oh, wow. But it was good to get some storytelling towards the Undertaker and Kane thing. Obviously, we have some story, but I mean, you're leading into the go home shows here. You got to have some fire going into it. No pun intended. Yeah, it was good. I thought it was all right. The Kane fire thing was a little weird. Still cool though. Just typical Undertaker shit. I liked it. They need to do more Bray Wyatt or stuff like this with Bray. I think like more Undertaker-y moments. I don't know.
I can see that. It was because I don't remember Kane and Sable ever interacting ever, and I know that it was weird to see those two programs collide. And Kane's been that sort of, he's been involved in other programs as well, coming into the ring and getting involved. So when it happened, I generally popped. I was like, "Oh shit, Kane's gonna attack Sable."
Yeah,
it was very interesting.
Yeah, it was weird, but it was nice. It felt good. It felt like putting on an old pair of gloves. You know, you're like, oh, these.
And the crowd helps too. That's one of the best part because the crowd is absolutely rabid. They're popping for everything. And we mentioned Jeff Jarrett, Tennessee Lee, and like how bad it actually is, but the fans are reacting to it. So it's like, can it be? We want to talk about the short matches and the pacing of the show, but the ratings speak for themselves. Numbers don't lie. Like this is the hottest peak in maybe it's just this is what people wanted, the casual audience wanted.
Yeah, I mean the Jarrett Tennessee Lee shit was like 95 WCW bad, but you're right. Like it's just how it is. What are you gonna do about it?
Which leads us to the Tucson Convention Center, Tucson, Arizona, March 23rd, 1998. This is the go home show. So as we mentioned last week, it was a good time, and they're building off of that. And obviously, we're hoping on a go home show to WrestleMania they're going to go all out. And at this point, they're primarily focused on the main event, and they have to get Austin and Michaels billed for this because at this point, this is your bread and butter. You got to get people. This is the last push at this point. There's no streaming service. You can't just click a button. It's about convincing your parents, convincing whoever is control of the money to buy this pay-per-view, and it wasn't cheap. So this is a big moment for them. It's their last sell to the fans, and let's see how they do.
Hell yeah.
All right, so we open up with Stone Cold Steve Austin. The glass breaking, the fans go absolutely crazy. Kevin Kelly starts to talk, and Austin tells him to shut his mouth. And then he said Vince made it clear that he does not want me being champion. Austin's not moaning because he cannot be broken, and he does what he wants. And the most important thing for him to do is to get Shawn in the ring and beat his ass. It'll be the toughest match of his life, and Vince and the WWF can throw as much crap as they want at him, but I'm going to take the title from Shawn. Kevin Kelly then tells Austin that DX is coming in full force, and Steve takes as an insult. And the fans agree. Austin looks like going to kick Kevin Kelly's ass. He threatens to snap Kelly in half. And then it's all fine with him as he's night off, and he has a cooler full of Steve Weisers to go to drink all of them. And then we get Sergeant Slaughter coming down, tells Austin and Steve to make sure he does not want one of his beers. Slaughter informs him that he's wrestling tonight and is due to Vince ordering it, and he will wrestle Rocky Maivia in the main event. Good shit. Stone Cold responds, it's no big deal. He'll take care of him. Austin keeps going, and Slaughter tells him that if he does not wrestle Rocky tonight, it'll be a non-title match at WrestleMania. Austin was ready to do what Vince wanted to, and there we go. Stunner on Slaughter to open the show. Hot-ass segment. Good shit.
I love when they would open Raw with the glass because, like, you knew shit was going down. So already, we got Austin coming out. Fuck yeah. But his cadence here, his mannerisms, I think he's wearing the DTA shirt, and he's just like, I love when he gets in Slaughter's face. Slaughter's like, well, you're gonna have that shitty match at Mania if you don't fight The Rock tonight.
It's gonna be a non-title match, by the way.
I already told you I'd do the goddamn job. Like, like you're getting the full blown picture. It's so good, but I kind of miss Slaughter as the guy.
Dude, same thoughts. I loved it.
He's got the chin out. He looks great. It was fun, man. But
I just picture Shawn Michaels in his face.
But it's like this was a hot opener, fucking miles above the last week's Raw. Like, this is how you start off a show. This is how we keep shit going. Like, let's do it.
This is the best way to use an on-screen character. You want to talk about the worst? Adam Pearce of Raw. You want to talk about the best? Commissioner Slaughter. I think there's something to be said, and I understand it's a very worn down storytelling mechanism that people use, but I think AEW can benefit from having an on-screen persona, like someone that's in charge of matchmaking.
They need it.
I don't know. It could be someone with a historical, maybe like an old champion. Like Sergeant Slaughter has the lineage of being an old WWF champion. Maybe it could be someone like a Jerry Lynn.
5 years. Yeah.
Jericho. But maybe like Jerry Lynn could do it because I don't know. I think they need someone to help drive the story. Like someone needs to hold these guys accountable and even further show the rule breaking nature of Austin. It makes him look more of a badass when he's stunning the boss. Like if Slaughter didn't exist, he's just stunning talent and stunning announcers. It's really cool to see him. He doesn't give a shit if this guy's signing his paychecks or not. He's going to stun them. Doesn't matter.
100%, man. And they got to take that heat off of Tony if they're not going to put Tony Khan out there. They got to give it to somebody else. Absolutely. But I also wanted to point out Slaughter sold the shit out of that stunner.
Great stunner by Slaughter.
Yeah, that was fucking. He flips over him like you're like. And that's one of my favorite things that we're doing right now is watching how people take the stunner, because some people take it fucking dirt shit and some people take it great.
Yeah, I would say best stunner ever has to go to The Rock always. Like even tonight, this Raw, he takes it. And there's nothing better to me than the WrestleMania 15 stunners. Like he just bounced over the ring. I think it's the first time he started doing the bounce.
Yeah,
all time. To
rolling
me,
on his head and shit.
It's the best stunner of all time.
And kudos, shout out to Scott Hall for that too. Because Scott Hall fucking
That's
sold
a great
the shit out of that.
stunner as well.
Yeah, that's possible. Top 2 stunners is the Rock and Hall, man.
So we have our opening match of the night. It is the Quebecers, Jacques and Pierre, taking on the team of the number 1 contenders for the tag titles, Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. Want to lead us through this match, Mr. Belcaster?
Yeah, listen, it was way better than half the shit we seen last week, and it went 4 minutes almost. It was great. The Quebecers kind of feel out of place here. I like it really did, but it was fun. We got some outlaws shenanigans. Fucking what was with the Chainsaw Charlie puppet? it was weird, right? Like just I don't know, man. But fun. Not the best build for their match, but still, it wasn't terrible. And we got to see PCO. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Unfortunately, it's DQ, but they should have had Cactus and Chainsaw just getting the win straight up,
Once.
and then after have the Noise Outlaws getting involved. But we have more final build for this match at WrestleMania, and Road Dogg running down using the champagne bucket to hit the 2 of them with it. Road Dogg tosses the table into the ring, and they break the table over Charlie's head. Gunn has a chair, and now Gunn has Jack, and they spike pile drive him right into it, and then Gunn and Dogg stand out on top, looking to retain their titles at WrestleMania. Really good build for a tag team championship feud at WrestleMania. I mean, straight up, like it's a very, very well built feud.
It was a hell of a spike pile driver too, and I was just about to say I missed the spike pile driver, but FTR does it all the time.
That's true.
It's a great fucking move though.
We also have the next match here: Jeff Jarrett with Tennessee Lee taking on Steve Blackman. And Steve Blackman was undefeated up until this point. Correct me if I'm wrong. He loses in this match. Jarrett gets the win, and we're going to go through some of the spots here. We have refs all over the place, but let's go through some of the spots here. And he says we have Jeff Jarrett fighting back, taking Blackman down, goes up on top, and Double J goes up on top, and Double J falls on top of Blackman. Tennessee Lee holds Blackman's leg, and this allows Double J to pin him. Blackman's upset, clearly. And another ref comes down, argues with the current ref. Tennessee Lee shoves the ref away, and Double J is in the fray, and Blackman takes him out and runs after Lee. A lot going on, cheating, referee shenanigans, all this stuff. But again, Steve Blackman's first loss comes at the hand of Jeff Jarrett, and because of Jeff Jarrett, we can't have nice things, including Revolution with the tag team championship. But
listen, man, Jeff Jarrett likes to wedge himself into things and make it very uncomfortable.
Thank you, Belcaster. I just don't get the appeal. Why is he going to be on my screen in 98 or 2023? I don't get it.
Yeah, more so, I'd prefer to see him now than in 98, but it's not my fucking goddamn tag team match for the titles at a pay-per-view. Weird shit. And this is, I'm going to go on a Jeff Jarrett rant real quick, but every fucking time he goes somewhere, he fucks something up. Here, it just completely flops, goes to WCW, gets hot with the don't piss me off thing for a minute, which he started here, carries that over to WCW, goes out of business. They fucking hate Vince. Is like, fuck that guy, I'm never working with him again. Starts TNA goes great for a little bit, then he starts fucking Kurt Angle's wife, ruins the whole thing. It was like the downfall of TNA. Comes back, it's all over the place. Now the best thing he does in his career, GCW, he fucks that up. Then he goes they hired him in AEW. I was like, why are you gonna do this? Like, Global Force Wrestling again? Fuck that. What happened to Global Force Wrestling? Go fucking ruin your own goddamn boat, man.
Listen, all will be forgiven. If you just give Effie his win back. I think I'm just pissed at that. Effie was supposed to get a win in that feud, and he didn't get it. Whatever. Jarrett,
he was never getting that win.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett knew what he was doing.
Anyway, Steve Blackman, who was undefeated, lost here, and Steve Blackman's going to fall into mid-card obscurity. And I guess the highlight of Blackman's WWF career would be the head cheese stuff at Al Snow, maybe. Like, that's probably the highest heights he reaches, but
yeah,
kind of sad potential here.
He was good. I liked some of his hardcore matches for the title. I thought they were fun.
Oh, that's true. Great. Yeah, he was hardcore champion 2000-ish. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, didn't they do that brawl outside the arena, like where they were throwing each other in the river and stuff like that? Like, there was some good.
Oh, that was Al Snow and Bossman. But you're right, he did fall.
Fuck, yeah. That was part of it too. Yeah,
he had hit. He kendo sticked Shane off of
I was there for that
SummerSlam.
Backlash 2001, right? 2000, maybe 99, something like that. Whatever.
2000.
I was there for it. It was great. Best fucking pay-per-view. But yeah, but here's the, I know where this is, we recorded this before Dynamite, but what if Steve Blackman and Effie are the casino and they're going after Jeff Jarrett like, you stole our fucking spot, you asshole. I would pop for that.
Steve Blackman doing the bussy gimmick would be fucking amazing.
Amazing. Same jacket with the sticks. Sign me up, man. Sign me up.
Where's Steve Blackman? Let's make it happen. But
he's martial arts, man.
we get a limo arriving, and then Tyson comes out with HBK right behind him, and Triple H and China bringing them up the rear. And they show highlights of Kane last week, and we get a segment with Undertaker in a cemetery talking about Kane. Cool segment here. He, Taker has a very cool aesthetic. I love Undertaker, and the evolution over the course of time, very awesome. And this is just, it's different. Like every time Taker is in his main feud, I feel like WrestleMania is a very good benchmark of where Taker's at in his career and the iterations of the character. WrestleMania 14, WrestleMania 15, they're vastly different. Think about when he's the Hell in a Cell with Boss Man, the Ministry Taker to this Taker. There's a lot of growth, and obviously in 2000 he's hurt, so he's not at the WrestleMania. But even 17, he's the biker Taker. So much changes from year to year for him. So very cool segment. I did enjoy it, building up the program with Kane, and we do get the aforementioned Kane with Paul Bearer coming out. Paul Bearer has the mic, and he's just talking nonsense and talking about how Kane has the power to end Undertaker, and he has more magic tricks up his sleeve. And then he sets one of the crew members on fire. So
very vicious, yeah.
So this was very honestly looked really, really goddamn cool. Like it actually looked really, really cool. But obviously fake. But why is the line? Yeah, but why is the line for Taker? He's allowed to float to the ring. He's allowed to throw the lightning. This is really cool because it's the evil side of it, and that poor crew member. I loved it. I thought it was really good.
He did a great job, and I was impressed that he didn't have like a ski mask on, because like when you're usually doing flame stunts, you have a mask over your face and shit. Like it was really well done. I felt the Undertaker promo was a little out of character for the Undertaker. He was like, "We're gonna talk about family values and how," like it was just like, "Oh, okay, like don't drink and drive, kid." It had that like weird homey feeling, but it was still good. It was a really good segment. I do love the lore. This is why I brought up Bray Wyatt earlier, because we need more promo packages like this. This was cool, cryptic. I thought it was awesome, but I love the story we're getting with Kane and Undertaker here, and it's just fun. Good shit.
Do you think Bray Wyatt is suffering because he doesn't have a counterpart? Like Taker always had Kane to balance off him, and Bray really has had nobody. Like Bray really doesn't have. He had the Shield at one point, but he doesn't have another supernatural character to bounce off of.
Yes, and I think it's that, and they don't know how to book him out of it. If that makes sense. Like they don't know how to be like, he's supernatural, but he's not supernatural. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no, it's just Bray Wyatt's fucking Bray Wyatt. He's this crazy ball. Let Bray do his Bray things. Here's the fun house. Like have fun, but it never amounts to anything. It sucks. Because it's hard to, how do you stop an opponent that could fucking, turn the ring into worms with a projector? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's
true.
There's not much there. I think that's why they cut the red light gimmick off of him so fast, because it's like, where are you going with this? Like they booked themselves into a hole, and everybody was like, fuck, like here we go.
Yeah, I mean, as much heat as at the Rumble that the Mountain Dew pitch black match got, like it's not too far off of what they did with Taker. It just like Taker has the nostalgia factor, what people love about Taker, like when the caskets, like all of it at the end of the day is supernatural, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. So I know Taker didn't have a Mountain Dew tag on any of the shit that he was doing, but at the end of the day, a buried alive match, you have to suspend your belief really far. And
absolutely, yeah.
That's
when you
not
were a kid. I don't know.
That's not the wrestling for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I knew there was some magic behind the buried alive match, but it was like, why? Like, what do we do? Like, okay, whatever. It's hokey, but it was still good. I enjoyed it.
So the guy who was lit on fire was carried off on a gurney, and that leads us to our next match. The only thing you can follow a guy lighting on fire would be a match that makes you want to light yourself on fire, and it's Disciples of Apocalypse versus the Midnight Express. And it ends in a no contest. They all get in the ring. LOD are being chanted for. Los Barricas get involved. The Quebecers get involved. This is just to hype up the Battle Royal to open the show at WrestleMania 14. And that's pretty much it. So no contest for 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Not great. DOA, not a great tag team. Midnight Express, dead upon arrival as far as on WWF 1998. Here we go, though.
Everybody's DOA. I want to know where the fuck DOA is nowadays, because that was a ship that crashed quick.
But it's pretty much terrible. Taker's biker gimmick, though. You know what I mean? Like it just it's his whole gimmick, but like Taker, it just shows you the importance of the guy, Mark Calloway.
Absolutely, and great point, man. Absolute great point.
Like you could have gave anybody the Taker gimmick back in 1990, but it had to be Undertaker. And if it wasn't Mark Calloway, the guy with the persona and the charisma to do it, it wouldn't be the same. Same thing with DOA. Yeah. They literally are the American Badass Tag Team.
Without Kid Rock.
They are the drizzling shits.
It's not good. No, not at all.
All right, so here comes DX, Tyson in tow. Tyson can't do the DX. He's just walking down doing the X.
That's what I do. It's spinal.
They show some footage from last week. Owen getting the ball bat on the cast, and he brags about becoming the new European champion. China's handcuffed to something at WrestleMania, but according to Triple H, that's not going to matter as he owns Owen. He's going to send him packing back to Calgary. So more stuff here. SHAWN wants to bring the cameraman over to a lady who has a DX sign with big boobs, and she's not cute, and they hint at that. Now they show off Tyson wearing the DX shirt, and he calls Austin and Vince a bunch of chicks fighting out there, and he mocks them. He appreciates Vince's support for not wanting Austin as champion. Stops for the Austin chant that is happening in the crowd. This is, again, more of just building towards two matches, the Triple H versus Owen match, and also the Austin, Tyson, Michaels affair that we're going to get in the main event of WrestleMania. And Tyson is rough on the mic too, so he gets the mic for the end here. And not great, but they give him some time here. And I talked about this last week as far as him joining DX. Do you think that was the right move? Like as far as booking Mike Tyson goes, like because it's certainly interesting. I know that at the beginning they wanted to rehabilitate his image because it was damaged with the Holyfield ear biting and all the things that went on with that. Do you think that it was a good idea to put him with DX and just turn him heel and lean into what people want to do, and that's boo him?
You know what? I think it plays perfectly because of the biting of the ear. He's a degenerate. You know, he was the degenerate of boxing, so he comes into wrestling. He should be with Degeneration X, right? Like it would only make sense. I don't think they had to necessarily do it, but it definitely helped out, like in favor of the main event, because you went into it and you were like, shit, man, Austin's not going to be able to beat this battle, no matter how much you were expecting it to happen, right? So like you're like, oh, well, not knowing Shawn Michaels had a broken back and all that shit, you probably like, man,
I broke my back.
Love it. But you probably thought Shawn Michaels was like he was capable of winning the match, right? That was what, as a fan with suspended disbelief, that's it. And I think having Tyson in his corners just stacked those odds. And Tyson was a bad guy, man. What he did, he's telling his daddy to go fuck himself. He's trying to get booked over here in the wrestling federation. It's great.
Spinal.
It's not even about the cadence about how he says spinal. That whole interview is just like, he is just like, yeah, the vertebrae, they're all over the place. Like you're just
he's clear as day standing up, by the way. And he's like, yeah, I broke my back. And he's just standing there perfectly fine.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Well, this leads us to our next match here. No easy way to transition to this. Farouk defeated Chains by DQ, 3 minutes and 38 seconds.
Ugh.
The only thing of note here is the Rock runs into the ring with a chair, and Farouk is baffled. The ref warns him off, and the Rock dings him with it. Not too hard, and the Rock is out. Farouk is out, and he calls for the rest of the nation to come out, and they haul him off to the back. So, So Farouk gets the win after being hit with the chair. This is just building up the more dissension in the nation. Yeah. It
was good.
So this is going to be what The Rock does following the match with Ken Shamrock after that program's done. And we're starting to move in that direction. So, yeah, it was okay as far as progression goes. But if you wanted wrestling, yeah.
No.
You don't. This is not it.
You want fluff? Go eat a marshmallow.
Yeah, dog. No, but I love the chair shot gimmick, like the angle. I thought it was a good angle. Could have been done, a lot less time. They didn't need 4 minutes to do that, but it was good. I like Rock and Farouk kind of trying to one up each other.
So we have Bradshaw defeating Barry Windham with Jim Cornette in his corner, 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Not much to really talk about here.
Goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to look at this, you could talk about Bradshaw's iterations of this character as time goes on. You could see hints of potentially being a main event guy here. Like he has a different presence to him that he did. And of course, he has to hit the tag team mark again. He's going to be with the APA a year later. I mean, later this year, he's going to be with Farouk and the Acolytes with the Ministry. This time next year, he'll be in the Ministry with Farouk, which is crazy.
The best.
Just to show how long it takes to get there. In a short period of time, it does, a lot can change, but
yeah,
Bradshaw for sure. Yeah, I mean, gets the win here. But as I said, the new Midnight Express is just horrendous. So not much.
Yeah, the whole Cornette thing. If like this is where you like Cornette's lapse of judgment. Like he could be as stupid as he wants on his podcast, but this is just terrible. This is awful. But Bradshaw was good. I like Bradshaw.
So DX is in the back with Tyson, and then he is holding the belt, and even Lawler has no idea what he's even saying, so they really can't even figure out what the hell he's saying. And then we get Mero and Sable coming out, and Vince Russo's there too, our boy Vic Venom. And Mero claims she has been riding on the coattails, and that she wants the spotlight, and they're giving her an award for the WWF Raw magazine with Sonny and Sable on the cover, and that's why Vic Venom is there.
You want the dirt? Guess who's got the shovel?
So yeah, this is just more stuff for hyping up the breakup eventually, and Sable becoming a huge star, and she's so important for the Attitude Era as time goes on.
No, she listen. We see week after week the crowd is fucking white hot for her. They're ready for it, and they nobody gives a fuck about Mark Mero. So it doesn't matter what they're doing. They're ready for that just to end.
Which leads us into our main event here. I'll let you lead the way. It's a non-title match. Obviously, the IC title's not on the line. Austin and The Rock. This is almost a year to the day. They're going to be wrestling at WrestleMania in the main event at WrestleMania. The history between these two guys, I think if you had to pick one rival for the both of them, they would be the person you pick. That's how good they are. So lead the way. This match was pretty good for a Raw match.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they gave it allocated time. It was long. It was over 5 minutes. It was slightly over 10 minutes. Just the goosebumps of watching these two at such a young spot working each other. You knew it was going to be good no matter what. But a lot of good back and forth as always. It's just you can't write magic like this. These two, I mean, even at this small stage of their careers, I mean, not small, but their feud, you could see the chemistry there. You could see them going back and forth with each other. I absolutely loved it, man. Obviously, we got some Nation of Domination shenanigans busting out. Austin's all over the place, not giving a shit. Hits that stunner at the end. It's so beautiful. And it was good, man.
He gets the pin with the stunner, and then after the match is absolute chaos. D'Lo runs in with the chair. He gets stunned. Rock gets back up, runs off. Then DX is at the top of the ramp. Shawn reminds him that he has tasted Sweet Chin twice and basically states he's going to beat him on Sunday. Austin trying his best to bait Michaels into the ring. And then HBK is like, I'm coming down. And then Triple H steps in front of him. And then we have that moment where it's like they're about to touch. Perfect way to end the show. Honestly, excellent job of setting up WrestleMania. Like, you can't do a better job of setting up the main event. The last 2 weeks, if I'm looking at just the last 2 weeks, you convinced me to give my money out for this. I think it was really, really good. And at this point, with Michaels injured, it looks like all signs point to the match happening, but there still probably has to be a little bit of hesitation of they really don't know. But as far as everyone doing business with each other and figure out a way to make it work, they found a way to get to WrestleMania. Now it's about getting to Boston and having the match. They did everything but that so far.
Yeah, and this is like a good example of trying, like, keeping away two people from you got Austin, HBK at Mania, but like they distance the two enough. Like, they're not constantly in the ring with each other. It's not a promo off. It's just, we're gonna fucking come and tease you. Like, you just need little teases like that to sell a good ass main event, and this was perfection, man. Really got me hyped up. Was ready to roll. Really pumped for Mania. Like, just let's fucking go.
Well, the perfect segue here. We have WWF WrestleMania 14, March 29th, 1998 in the Fleetcenter, Boston, Massachusetts, in attendance of 19,028. Of course, Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler on the call. And we open up straight away with the number one contenders tag team battle royal. The teams in this were Savio Vega and Miguel Perez, Recon and Sniper, Chains and Bradshaw, D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry, the Quebecers, Rock and Roll Express, Jesus Castillo and Jose Estrada, Headbangers, Too Cool, Blackman and Flash Funk, Godwin, Skull, 8-Ball, Farouk and Kama, Bob Holly, and Bart Gunn. And obviously a mystery opponent here. Legion of Doom's been off our TV for quite some time. They come in, they get a huge pop. They're the only team that gets an entrance here. Some fun facts before we get into the match and what you thought about it. This is the first Battle Royal on pay-per-view since WrestleMania 4.
Crazy.
Another fun fact here. Jim Cornette turned on the Rock and Roll Express a couple weeks before this show and debuted his new charges here, Bombastic Bart and Bodacious Bart. And as far as we obviously know that we went over it, but they would last until July and they'd be done. They're gone. So we saw Jeff Jarrett leave NWA. So we have until July to deal with the Midnight Express. And after this, after losing another title match to the New Age Outlaws on Raw shortly after No Way Out, Hawk and Animal started arguing and brawling with each other. They walked out with the intent of never teaming again. So this is like leading up. We talked about that on the Raw where they were fighting each other. We didn't know what they were going to do. Maybe they're going to have Animal and Hawk feud with each other. That's Vince Russo booking, whatever. But yeah, I guess lead the way. What did you like about this Battle Royal? They do start in the ring. There's a classic Battle Royal. I have not been in a Battle Royal. I've been in a Royal Rumble at this point. I'm a Royal Rumble veteran. So Battle Royal is a little bit different.
Yeah, no, listen, man. It did the job. The Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call them, LOD 2000 with Sonny. What a fucking pop. I love how they put the emphasis on the change of character, on commentary. I mean, this was just a match to get them over, right? To get them back in the tag picture. I thought it was fun. It wasn't like that much going on. This was one of those like, who gives this? This is a pre-show battle royal on the main screen, and it was good. But the LOD spot, the best part of the whole gimmick. It was great.
Yeah, and they get this like moment here, and it's one of the last moments they do get. They very, very so it's gonna be really ugly. Pretty soon, as far as LOD goes, it's gonna be the Hawk and Animal stuff is gonna get worse. Like they're gonna do the drunk Hawk stuff, which is horrible, but not great.
No, not great at all. But I mean, like you said, it was cool to see LOD come out and get that big hurrah. Really felt something there. Like it felt special. It was cool. I love the new look. I loved LOD 2000's look. The shorts instead of the tights, the different colored spikes and shit like that. And Sonny actually added a nice flavor to LOD, which I liked. It was good.
For sure, which leads us into our next match here, which was, I honestly thought it went longer. Watching this as a kid, I remember being really excited about how fast they were moving around the ring because of, in comparison, everybody else on the card. But if you watch their work rate now, it's pretty par for the course what we see on AEW or New Japan. And I love Taka Michinoku. This match, Aguila gets a lot of heat in the newsletter where Meltzer's talking about how he needs a lot of work. He's green, but this match is pretty good. I mean, he had a lot of offense against Taka, and this would eventually, become, I guess, the biggest reign of the light heavyweight championships tenure in WWF. I think Taka did the best job. Michinoku really put everything in all his big matches. You could tell he really cared for this and wanted to be looked at as an equal playing ground as the main event. This match is short as hell. Like I mentioned, 5 minutes and 57 seconds. But if it was another 5 minutes, I think it could have been a classic. But I enjoyed it. Like I think it was well paced. I really enjoyed what they did. And I'm looking forward to Essa Rios later in 1998 for his matches with Taka. That should be really cool. But yeah, this was in the ending. Saw Michinoku driver 557. That was it. Clean finish. Nice to see on a WWF pay-per-view Raw, and Taka gets the win.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Really, really, like as short as it was really entertaining. Good back and forth. I love Taka, man. It was fun. Aguila left a little bit more to be desired, but it was all right, man. It wasn't bad.
Absolutely. And I remember watching this as a kid and being like, these guys are the best things I've ever seen. But like now watching compared to watching guys like Bandito and Ray Phoenix and like it's Taka is up to that level. But Aguila clearly is not up to snuff. But they stand out in this card for sure. This is definitely one of those things where nobody else is doing this, and that's why it was good.
No, and it was a nice breath of fresh air, especially after that goddamn battle royal.
So following the Rock interview with Jennifer Flowers, we move into Triple H versus Owen for the European Championship. This is the rematch from their 50-second debacle on Raw about 2 weeks ago. So lead us through this, and I'll tell you some fun facts after the match. Yeah,
listen, this was not terrible. They gave it a good amount of time, some fun between Triple H and Owen. It's one of those things. It's so hard to watch these Owen Hart matches because you know how much potential he had, and like this is one of those things. It wasn't really shown that much. Obviously, his athleticism was great, but like deep down inside, you're watching this like, man, I wish he was going for the title or something. Like you wanted more importance out of it. Owen gets gigged in the nose. It was that looked brutal, and Triple H gets the win, pal. 11 minutes and 27 seconds.
So some fun facts here. Obviously, Owen was supposed to be feuding with Shawn Michaels on those Montreal dates, and he got hurt, so they couldn't do them. And Shawn got hurt, so they couldn't do them. So on the 126 edition of Raw, as we discussed on about 2 episodes ago, Owen thought he was facing Triple H for the European title, but in reality, it was the artist formerly known as Goldust dressed up like Triple H. So that's a weird way to even start the feud. And we also mentioned, as far as after this, from storyline perspective, after the crazy run-in and beatdown after the Shawn Michaels Ken Shamrock match at the DX pay-per-view, when Owen broke Michaels' nose, which we'll talk about, you think it was a ready-made feud to start. But obviously, post-Montreal, Shawn wants nothing to do with anyone named Hart. He's in a weird spot here. And it's only going to get worse for Owen as the year goes on. You mentioned Jason Sensation. You mentioned The Nation. There's really nothing good of Owen's year. I think he feuds with Shamrock at SummerSlam. And other than that, there is nothing else of note as far as Owen's reign here. Like he's European champion, and that's like the height he'll reach. I think before he unfortunately passed away, he was tag champion again.
Yeah.
With Jeff Jarrett. But yeah, he's floating around doing goofy stuff, and I would hate to think that they're passing on his talent because of the Bret Hart stuff, but you can't help but feel that way.
No, and they have to, right? Like, and it paints a whole shit picture on it, because Owen could have been a guy, if he was. I would have loved to see Owen versus HBK or Owen versus Austin come, a year down the line. Like, there's so many good matches. Imagine the story being told with Owen and Austin, because Owen broke Austin's neck, right. So many good what ifs, but fuck.
So the ending was a little bit schmozzy. That, like we mentioned, the pedigree, and it felt clean, but Chyna, who was handcuffed to Commissioner Slaughter, took out powder from her pocket, threw it in his eyes, and then low blows Owen before the pedigree. So no matter what, Triple H retains. Match was better than probably you expected with a guy with a bum ankle. Owen was moving around okay. So pretty good.
Hit a hell of a drop kick off the top rope. It looked great. Like, there was a lot of good spots in the match.
And it's quite clear like how good Owen Hart really is. He's on pretty much one leg, and he's wrestling circles around Triple H. Triple H gets better in the ring, but he's no Owen Hart. Owen Hart, as far as his career goes, there's not many guys better than what he was able to bring work rate rise. And that's probably why he was neglected as far as 1998 goes. I don't think that it had any sort of like his benefit for being on the card was work rate, and they didn't give a shit. So like, what's the appeal of Owen Hart to them, especially if he's a Hart?
Yeah, 100%.
Which leads us to our next match: the artist formerly known as Goldust and Luna Vachon taking on Sable and Mark Marrow. Before we get into this match, this is all stemming from a wacky family angle that began at No Way Out. The Marrows were the de facto faces here, even though people hated Marrows, hated Mark Marrow, and they loved Sable. And then, as far as history goes, this is the third mixed tag match in WrestleMania history, and the first two have ties to the heel team in this match. At WrestleMania 6, Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire defeated Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry. At WrestleMania 10, Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna defeated Doink and Dink. So just to give a little bit of perspective as far as WrestleMania lineage goes, pretty cool. But this is fun. and it was very strange. Obviously, Goldust is in a weird spot. I think every time we mention Goldust, we talk about how weird it is. Like, he's in a weird spot. And I think he talks about in interviews how actually dark this time was for him.
Yeah.
But he's a complete mess. I think pulling this away, obviously Sable and Mark Merrow get the win when Sable pins Luna with a TKO, is how hot Sable is. Like, she's the female Steve Austin at this point. Fans really, really, really love her. They're popping huge. She probably gets the second biggest reaction on the whole show.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I guess I'm curious as far as why she's not even involved historically at all. Like, she's married to Lesnar. You think it's a foregone conclusion to have her involved in something. She's just not. Yeah. It's weird.
No, and those I was always wondered, because they had they finally started doing the all women pay-per-views, and it was like that would have been a great time to get Sable out there, even if it's just for recognition. I don't think she blacklisted at WWF at all. I mean, I think she's a very, very pivotal reason why they took off as big as they would. I mean, she's the first WWF Playboy model, and all that shit. Like, she was a hot commodity in '98, huge, and this was great storytelling. The Goldust thing was all fucked up. I feel like you feel bad watching these matches, knowing the mental state he was in, and what problems he was going through, and again, he was trying to outgrow that, oh, you're Dusty's kid mentality, and even to a point where he left Dusty at WCW to come here, and things just aren't working out. And Dusty was right, man. They knew they were going to do you wrong, dog. It was bad. So yeah, weird.
Yeah, very weird. And I guess pulling away from that, hopefully we're going to see a better version of Goldust soon. It's going to take a bit. WrestleMania 15 is involved in the Blue Meanie bullshit, but at least he has more semblance of a character where, like, it feels like the old Goldust. So we'll get there as far as 1999 goes. But the next match here, we have The Rock taking on Ken Shamrock with the IC title on the line. This was interesting as well. Like we mentioned, this feud has been built up as big as the main event feuds have been. You go to Kane and Taker, you go to Austin and Michaels. This match is just as important card. Talk about the moments leading up to this. The Rock flattened Shamrock with 2 unprotected chair shots. The face, really cool moments. Yeah. These guys are meant for each other. They have good chemistry. They have a very good cohesion in the ring. They vibe really well as The Rock sports entertainment style and Shamrock's ground and pound style. But The Rock was slowly but surely gaining a lot of heat. And you could tell in this match that fans were really, like, they wanted to boo him, but they wanted to see him on their screen. It was that blurring that line where they had to do something to get him booed soon, and they'll figure it out. We'll get that, of course. But we just through this match and tell us what goes on here. The ending was one of the more unique finishes in WrestleMania history.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I loved the back and forth between Rock and Shamrock. Had such great chemistry, and possibly one of the most underrated feuds of this era. I don't know. We're singing Ken Shamrock's praises all day long, but this is just so awesome. These two vibe so well together. You really got it. Beating the shit out of each other. It was great, right? But then we had the ankle lock, Rocky taps, and then Shamrock holds past the 5 seconds. They call it. What a shit. I felt robbed, man. I was so excited, but it was okay. Shamrock should have won. I think Shamrock would have been lightning hot if it happened, but it also might have dampened The Rock's growth right now. So maybe it was the best decision, but they could have did the finish better. But it was still good. I enjoyed it.
I didn't hate the at the time. I did. Don't get me wrong. I hated watching this as a kid, but going back and watching this, and I love the gimmick where he just beats the shit out of the referees after the match because he snapped.
That was great. Yeah. Love that.
This is, classic Rock moment. He's being wheeled out on the stretcher. He's bleeding out of the mouth. So good. So good. And obviously the leader of the nation comes on the ramp, stares at Rocky bleeding and crying, and walks away. So more planting seeds for what goes on with Farouk and the nation. This was really, really good. Honestly, not to talk about the Chaser yet, but probably my match. I love this match. I really did.
Yeah. No, listen, it was great. And like you said, the Shamrock snapping after the match was set a great character on him. Loved seeing him just throw these small ass referees around because it's fun to watch. That was the original Suplex City right there. It was great, man. But yeah, good character development on The Rock again. And Shamrock, Shamrock's just a fucking a great fucking worker, and I don't think he'll ever get the. I still don't think he's going to get the credit that he deserves all these years later.
Which brings us to our tag team championship match: Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie taking on the New Age Outlaws in a dumpster match. Match goes 10 minutes, and this is the first ever dumpster match for the tag titles. Another fun fact, too, not to give away the ending here, but this is Terry Funk's only WWF championship in his history, and his official WrestleMania record's 2-0 after this match. He and his brother Dory defeated the Junkyard Dog and Tito Santana at WrestleMania 2, so Tito is undefeated at WrestleMania. Come get him, Taker. Let's do it. This is chaotic, man. This is a chaotic match, and the New Age Outlaws are getting heat from everywhere. Boston was booing them all over the place. And this will be the last time we see the New Age Outlaws in the ring without DX at their side. This is the last time they don't have the DX backing. And the match itself, very, very entertaining. This is absolutely, memorable. Like, I really enjoyed this. It was chaotic in the best way possible. And seeing the ending was a little bit cheap, but obviously Cactus and Chainsaw getting the win is good here. Like, I like the ending, and it honestly surprised me watching this again back. Like, I don't remember Cactus and Chainsaw Charlie winning the titles at all.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's a great moment for Terry Funk. I think a great moment for the Outlaws. A great moment for, like, how cool is it that you get to win a tag team title with your best friend? All these years down later, and it's not completely the end of his career, obviously, or either or Cactus Jack. But I mean, this had to have been a very awesome moment for both of them. Great fucking, like, some fun spots throughout this whole match. These guys really knew how to work. Like, it was fun. Like, you could watch them do these chaotic bullshit matches and, like, take away stuff from it. Like, that's saying something. It's not just hogwash and crap. It was really fun. Enjoyed the shit out of it. I love Foley. I love Funk. I love the Outlaws. I thought it was just an awesome Mania match.
Yeah, it was an awesome moment. And again, like, I watched this back and was absolutely surprised. And I think the reason why is that the New Age Outlaws either win it back the next night on Raw or like the week after. That's probably why I don't remember them being tag champs, but really awesome to see them win. Like, I was almost shocked in the moment. It was really, really cool. But
yeah,
let's go to Kane and Taker. This match they give this so much time. This is a classic match. Then the buildup for this was tremendous. We get Kane debuting at Bad Blood, costing Taker the match famously with Shawn Michaels. They make amends and then cost him the title at Royal Rumble, and then sets the casket on fire, and then we're off to the races. So, Mike Belcaster, talk about this match, and this sets the stage for Kane's career. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, the lights go red. Kane comes out. He goes right after Pete Rose. This is one of the most memorable WrestleMania moments, and it wasn't even a match, but it was so damn good. I love Pete Rose. I thought this really became a running gag. Fucking Pete Rose is a goddamn champ. For $25K, I would have. I mean, I don't think you could do better. What a payday! It was great though. The match itself, holy shit, good back and forth. And this is, I mean, I'll call this the co-main event. I mean, this is huge. Really good action through this. Kane and Undertaker just beating the piss out of each other. So good. Undertaker, they set Kane up to be such a beast. He's no selling the shit out of everything. Taker's like giving a lot, not a lot of taking. Both of them are giving a lot. Undertaker's got to hit him with not one, not two, but 3 tombstones to finally put his brother down for the count, Brent. It was good. I love the shit out of it. I really do. I think this is one of the best Taker Mania matches. One of them.
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah. So good.
And they give it enough time, and the build-up feels important. And like you mentioned, the no selling from both characters kept both of them looking strong. It took 3 tombstones. It doesn't take anybody 3 tombstones to be beaten, so it makes Kane look strong. Not that they had in their mind Taker's undefeated streak. I think it wouldn't have shocked me if Kane went over here, especially since he's a newer character. But I think the story continues that Taker had to come out on top after everything that happened throughout this feud. And this feud never really ends. They continue. They tag up. They feud again. They feud later on with Kane with no mask. Like, there's a lot that goes on with this. And we talk about Rock and Austin have a memorable cohesion together. Taker and Kane are the same thing.
Yeah, no, like fine wine and cheese, man. It's a pair match made in heaven, and they kill it. It was really important though. It was cool. The match felt important. It had presence. The Raws built them up very nice. Like, you felt invested going into this. And yeah, I fucking loved every minute of it.
Which leads us to our main event, Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels for the WWF World Title. Mike Tyson, special enforcer. And before I let you get into the match, there is some things to set the stage as far as historical references goes. So heading into March 1998, Shawn Michaels has held many championships, as we know. He had lost very few of them in the ring. Here's the total. He had won 3 world titles. He was pinned by Psycho Sid. He forfeited the title due to injury in 97. Pinned by Steve Austin for the IC title. Pinned by Marty Jannetty. Forfeited the title due to contract dispute. Forfeited the title due to injury in 95. And forfeited the titles when he split with Diesel. Forfeited titles when he walked out of the company. And he purposely laid down for the European Championship so Triple H could win the title from him. So out of his 9 total reigns, he only jobbed 3 of them clean each other wrestlers, which is Austin, Sid, and Jannetty. And even then, he beat Jannetty back 2 weeks later, and he forfeited 5 of them. And 1 was a screw job, so that doesn't count as a real job. So the reason why I'm saying this is, like, even if Shawn wasn't hurt, even if there was a chance that he was like, you know what, I'm not going to come to the ring and I'm not going to do business. Like, he may forfeit the championship to Austin, no problem, but I'm not going to lay down for him. So I think that's why we hear the stories of Taker wrapping his fist and Gorilla getting ready to fuck this guy up.
which is important. I mean, after you just battled fucking Kane for 18 minutes, and then you're going to go back and fucking worry about this asshole.
So we also have the historical reference in here as far as matches go for Shawn Michaels is his impressive run throughout this time leading up here. And this is his last, it's almost like the end of his career. Like, there's 2 different careers, this Shawn Michaels and the later one that comes after this. So a very impressive run by Shawn Michaels throughout from 88 to 98, 10 years. And it's crazy to believe because, like, Seth Rollins has been in WWE for, like, longer than that at this point. But now we feel as if 10 years is a long time. But at this point, he wrestled 10 of 12 shows and continued to have this big run where he's the main guy. So you want to talk about new generation. You want to talk about a guy that you're passing the torch to. He is the guy. This is why he had to be the guy to give Austin to ring in a new era.
Absolutely. He was an important role throughout the whole early 90s and so on. Like, I mean, there wasn't a bigger guy than HBK outside of Bret Hart, and Bret Hart's not there anymore.
So before I let you get into the match, this is also the final title match for the famed Winged Eagle World Title belt, which made its pay-per-view debut exactly 10 years later at WrestleMania 4. At the press conference after the match, it's clear that the belt has seen better days, with one of the bars of the center plate broken off, and the belt itself would take on a different role later in that year. So it'll be the Hardcore Championship. They'll use that exact belt. It's like starting to show signs of being the Hardcore Championship. But goddamn, there's a lot of history in this match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is what makes big moments. And it's having all this fact here to talk about. Like, I remember when it became the Hardcore title. Like, I didn't know that this was the last time that the Winged Eagle was on a pay-per-view. That's insane. Absolutely.
Yeah, the next night, Austin has the new title.
The blue strap. It's insane. It absolutely is. But let's get into the nitty-gritty, because, I mean, I don't know how many times you've watched this on VHS or DVD my God. And it's a fantastic back and forth between Austin and Michaels. Not a lot of bullshit. They kick out DX from ringside. It's just Austin, Michaels, and Tyson and the referee. Like I said, great back and forth, a lot of good shit. Austin selling his legs. I miss seeing shit like that when HBK was doing that, shtick where he steps on the bottom rope and falls down on the knees. Like, Tyson just sitting there looking at him like, I don't know what's going on. He's not sleeping. He's not yawning. He's happy to be here. But it really gets down to that beautiful, beautiful sequence between Michaels and Austin. He goes for the super kick. Austin grabs his leg, or Austin ducks, goes for the stunner. HBK pushes him towards the ropes, goes for the super kick again. Austin grabs him, spins him around, kick, stunner. Fucking history makes itself. Mike Tyson comes running in with the DX30. He goes 1, 2, 3, super fast count because it's spinal. Austin
Spinal.
There we go. And the goddamn Austin era begins. Unbelievable. Love the bullshit at the end where Michaels is like, "Hey man, you didn't fucking trying to grab the belt from Mike Tyson." And one of the best looking worked stiff punches was that punch from Tyson. HBK sold the shit out of it. It really felt like a passing of the torch, though. It really did. It felt like a checkpoint in the Olympics. You know, they were really giving it to Austin here. The celebration was beautiful. Mike Tyson holding his hand up. Austin with the 316 shirt on because Tyson couldn't figure out what to do with this. So Austin's got the shirt on his shoulder. It's a beautiful part of history, though, man. So damn good.
And when you watch this match, crazy to look back at how hurt Shawn Michaels really watched, just how beaten up he is. And he goes balls to the wall for almost 20 minutes. Like, he absolutely crushes this match. He has, I mean, you wouldn't believe he has a broken back. So he gave Austin all he can handle. And there's a moment in the match where Shawn Michaels can't bend down to get through the ropes. So, you know, he's accomplished. He's the guy to beat. This was a big thing to happen. And like we talked about the urban legend that was going on in the locker room that night in Boston, where he was saying Austin wasn't ready to be champion, that he's not going to drop the strap to him. And apparently people say Taker taping his fist is a real thing. So it does happen. Because this happens, we bring in the new era of WWF's new popularity, and they haven't reached this heights, if ever. Like, if you could compare it to the Hogan era, like it's up there. Want to do a Mount Rushmore of wrestling? Stone Cold's up there as far as popularity goes.
100%.
This really kicked off that new era. But let's get into the chaser and talk about our favorite parts. I mean, we wanted to break it down with each other, but let's talk about it right now.
The chaser.
All right, so every week we'll pick our favorite part, obviously from WrestleMania 14. So tell me, Belcaster, what was your favorite that you walked away with?
Man, listen, we could both say the beginning of the Austin era. Obviously, everybody out there gets that, but I'm going like I always do and giving a little sideway here. I'm giving it the Foley and Cactus Jack, or Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. Man, I thought, especially when you pointed out that was the only title Terry Funk's ever had in WWF. That's insane, man. And it was a fun match. It was just, it got your mind off things, got you ready for the main event, got you going. And an honorable mention to Kane and Undertaker. Thought it was fucking really well done. Very, very fun. Just those last three matches, man, really filled out the card perfectly.
So I'm giving my kudos to Shawn Michaels, going 20 minutes with an absolute broken back. And also, too, the fact that on this card, we have Steve Austin, The Rock, Mick Foley, Triple H, absolute benchmarks, anchors for WWF for the next couple of years that are so important. I got to give credit to everybody here. This is a lot of historical significance. This is one of those, if you're a wrestling fan, you have to watch this show, because there's no way to get
100%.
full context about what wrestling is and what the WWE is a company without watching what happens here. This is as important as any event, any event that happens, WrestleMania 1 included. No,
this is our version of Andre and Hogan. Like this it doesn't get bigger than this. Yeah, man. I don't know. You can't be a wrestling fan without noting and watching this match at least 5-6 times. It's huge.
Let's close the tab and talk about it next week. But dude, we have a lot on the plate for us.
Closing the tab.
The lights are coming on the bar. Mike Belcaster. We have episode 6 of season 3 next week, which, believe it or not, will be 3/10/23. We're right on the road to WrestleMania 39 for us, but we're going to be covering the March 30th Raw, the night after, the debut of XPac, April 6th Raw, and the April 13th Raw. We are heading through 1998, going all through all this good stuff, and I'm just happy to be on this ride with you, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. Ain't a better place to be Friday nights than right here at the Turnbuckle Tavern, watching Shot of Nostalgia, getting our shit in, having a good time. Go to the turnbuckletavern.com, follow, like, subscribe everywhere across the board. You guys, if you need a place to find us, we're there. I'm not going to go through all these names. Who do I look like, Chico, huh? I ain't no medium man. I'm the big man, all right? But anyway, yeah, turnbuckletavern.com. Join us down here at Shot of Nostalgia every Friday night. What a fucking blast this just keeps continuing to be. Every time, man.
You want fluff? Go eat a marshmallow.
Well, that's all we got for you guys. What an episode this was. I really appreciate you guys checking out and listening to the audio, checking out the video. Stay tuned. Sean Knight from the Miracle Generation will be popping on with me, talking all things indie wrestling in the New Haven, Connecticut area. We'll catch you guys next week. Shot Nostalgia, episode 6 coming your way. We'll see you guys.